Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So for this session, we're here to talk about Rogue, a new high-end drama series that's just launched in the US and is being launched internationally, I think, at MIPTV for the first time. We've really got a fantastic panel now. I know it's my job to say that, but it's true. So I'll quickly do some introductions and then we'll get into asking some questions. And if there's time, we'll throw it open at the end. To my direct left is Matthew Parkhill, and I guess we wouldn't be here without Matthew in that he's the creator of Rogue. So he can talk about how it came about and so forth. Then we have Thandie, who quite possibly needs no introductions, but I'll do a very brief one anyway. Known for many movies, Crash, Mission Impossible 2 and so forth. So very interesting as we see A-list talent move into television. Next to Thandie, we have Nick Hamm from Greenroom Entertainment, who is the exec producer of the show. Nick's ex-RSC director, I believe, some time back, and produced Killing Bono, well known for his feature work. And then, further down the line, we have Patty Ishimoto. Now, Patty is VP of Entertainment at DIRECTV. I'm sure everyone knows, but DIRECTV, very big pay TV operator in the US, and has its own kind of flagship channel for some original content as well as acquired content. And this is where Rogue is playing, and it just launched. And at the end of the line, we have Peter Emerson. Peter is president of entertainment at eOne. Now, eOne is a co-pro partner and is also the company that is selling it internationally, so kind of an interesting international perspective. Now, I could sit here and describe the show, but given the panel, I think there's probably other people are better qualified to do that. So perhaps, Matthew, this is an international audience. I know it's launched in the US, but for people not from the US, can you perhaps talk about the show itself, the themes, the story, and then perhaps we can see a bit of VT.
Sure. Rogue revolves around a morally conflicted cop, undercover cop played by Thandie, called Grace Travis. And very early on in the show, she loses a son. A son is killed in a drive-by shooting, and the police are convinced it's a stray bullet. And an accident, and Thandie's character is convinced it's connected to her work. She gets kicked off the police force for various reasons, given compassionate leave, and she decides to go undercover alone as a rogue operative without police protection to try and find her, on the trail of her son's killer. And she becomes involved with a mob family and a mob boss, a character called Jimmy Laszlo, played by Marton Chokash, who may or may not be involved in her son's death, and she enters into a emotional and physical relationship with this character in order to try and get to the truth of what happened. And so it's a serialized thriller that takes place over 10 episodes. And Grace, Thandie's character, over the course of these 10 episodes, essentially loses her moral compass as she gets deeper and deeper. The lines between who she is and who she thinks she is sort of start to blur in her attempts to get to the truth. It's structured as a whodunit. We do, as an audience, find out who did it by the end of episode 10. But along the way, there are the simple structure allows us to tell quite a sort of complex story. The crime family story is very much a King Lear story, where the king has two ungrateful sons instead of two ungrateful daughters who are battling for his throne, and that story is weaved around the central whodunit story.
Good stuff. I think that's the perfect time to see some of it. So if we can look at the video, please.
Go away! You're having a bad dream. It's okay. It's okay, sweetie. Hey, baby.
They had a lead. I tried to get in on it, but they shut me out.
You're going back, aren't you? The great disappearing actor is my mother.
It won't be for long, I promise.
I should have seen it glow, but everybody knows that a broken heart is blind. That a broken heart is blind.
Jimmy, down! You don't find me the car. You don't find the gun.
This runs deep. You're getting in way over your head here. I and my organization have nothing to hide.
You give me what you get on Jimmy, and I'll turn a blind eye to whatever vigilante sideshow you're running here.
You're not all you pretend to be, are you, Jack?
If you think justice and vengeance is gonna help, then you are misguided, and you are lost.
Any escalation of this is gonna be bad for business.
How long are you gonna keep waiting on Daddy's permission?
You get out there and fight her.
You went off the reservation, pulling you out.
I say we meet fire with fire.
I will handle this!
Should have seen it glow, but everybody knows that a broken heart is blind. That a broken heart is blind.
Basically a romantic comedy. Basically a romantic comedy, as you can see.
Yeah, it's kind of, light. And Thandie, can I come to you first? I think you're known for your film work. You're a film star. Why would you get involved in TV? Is it because of the strength of this particular project? Was that a direction you were interested in anyway? How did you get involved?
I think that the division between film and television has been getting gradually, smaller and closer over certainly the last decade. And as the cinema screens are getting smaller, in the big multiplexes, the home screens are getting bigger. So I think that people feel that they can get the cinema experience at home. So when I was approached with the project, it was no different to a film in that it was great material. I responded initially to the writing and to the character, really intrigued by the character of Grace, as you can imagine. And initially it was going to be a 3-part series for the BBC in England. And, as an actor, one of the things that's very attractive about television is the number of people you're going to reach. It's always, really going to be a lot more than with a movie. And I worked on ER 10 years or so ago, and, that storyline reached 20 million viewers, and that's very attractive, particularly if you've got, a conscience outside of just wanting to be a movie star.
Sure.
And then Matthew and Nick sent me the script of Rogue, which had then been transplanted to America over 10 episodes. And for me, it just got better to play that character over a longer period of time, and to reach a large number of viewers. And also I knew, because, all these people, the creatives had come from film, that it was going to have a film sensibility. So for us, really, it was just like making a 10-hour movie.
And, I think we could see from the clip that Grace she's not, your regular mum. She's a complex character. There are some darker elements there, and perhaps in TV now we're seeing these kind of. I guess as an actor, it's a real challenge having that kind of character to play. I wonder how you wanted to, attack that challenge.
The same way I would in a film, to be honest. The privilege of television is that you have longer to delve into things, so you can actually be more ambitious with the writing, with the scope of the story. And I think the only thing that's different between film and TV is the public's perception, in a way. There isn't the snobbery of, certainly for actors, that working in television is somehow inferior to working in film. That's all changed because of the supply and demand. People love drama on television, and America has always had a very strong tradition of excellent, particularly adult drama on television. So, the way I attacked the project was really just surrendering to the good writing, and I really approached the character in the same way that I would a film. There was no difference.
There's so much talk at a market like this, which is a TV market, about how film and TV are kind of combining and coalescing in interesting ways.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of the day-to-day, how different is it being on set Rogue compared to a movie? Because
Right.
the budget's big, but it's stretched over a longer time. I just wonder how the experience compares.
Yeah, well, Matthew summed it up really well. When we first sort of started the process of Rogue, he said, Thandie, you worked on Crash for 6 days, which is a movie I'm well known for. And he said, Rogue is going to be Crash for 4 months. And he was right. It required that level of commitment. The character was that complex. The emotion was that raw. And I welcome the challenge with open arms. But, you know, the key element that's different for me with this television experience has been my relationship with both Matthew, the showrunner, and Nick, the producer, has been crucial to me, you know, creating the role. I needed this, you know, that level of support. You know, our writer, our showrunner is there every single day. Our producer is there every single day. So, you know, it required that level of commitment from many more people than would on a movie.
And Matthew, as Thandie has said, initially, at one point, this was a 3-part project in the UK. It's now, you said to me that it was always going to be a struggle to get it into 3. What was the challenge of transferring this to the US in terms of location, concept, and so forth?
Well, not a lot changed in terms of concept. I mean, originally it was an idea I took to Nick, and it was my idea was to do it over 3 hours, and we were talking to you know, the BBC about doing it with them, and they sort of said to me, "Can you do it over 3 hours?" And I said yes, and I lied basically because I knew that I couldn't, and I was thinking, how am I going to do this over 3 hours? And then you know, as often with these things, you know, the path to production is never from A to B. It's from, you know, A to F via M or whatever. And Nick at one point said, "Do you want to take this to the States and try and set it up over there?" And I was very excited about that. I've been a huge fan of you know, American adult drama, particularly American cable drama, since I saw Sopranos 13, 14 years ago, all the way through, you know, The Shield and The Wire and 6 Feet Under and all these amazing shows. So the chance to, as a writer, operate in that arena was very exciting for me. In terms of how it changed, it didn't change that much. I mean, ironically, the concept stayed the same, the story very much stayed the same. 10 hours allowed us to explore it in greater detail, to go in greater depth into other character storylines.
And one interesting thing, Matthew, is that this isn't set in New York or Baltimore. It's a slightly different setting, and it seems from the outside, looking at the show, that it's a slightly different take on kind of the American crime story. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think we were very conscious of what has come before us, you know, in terms of, you know, modern American crime has been explored, you know, all the way from sort of Goodfellas to, you know, to the original Scarface, to the retelling of Scarface, to the, you know, so we were very aware of, we were, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants, and which affected our setting. You know, we didn't want to go somewhere that had been recently explored in modern American crime, so we didn't want to go to New Jersey because of the Sopranos, we didn't want to go to Baltimore because of The Wire, we didn't want to go to Seattle because of The Killing, you know, so we were looking for a place to set it. And actually, we were in a meeting with Patty, and Patty was the person that first suggested Oakland, and Jimmy's family was a family that operates out of the docks, and so when we started looking at Oakland, it sort of ticked so many boxes for us in terms of the story we wanted to tell, and you know, Oakland also has there's a lot of organised crime in Oakland that originates in Eastern Europe. A lot of organised crime, you know, there's a huge amount of Asian organised criminal networks in the Oakland Bay Area, you know, Oakland area. So that was something that was, you know, was interesting for us to explore.
And then, Nick, what you had the idea that this might be something that would work in the US, and evidently it has. But what are the kind of the mechanics of then approaching a US partner, starting to get the pieces in play, and, you know, get the production and the co-production off the ground?
Morning. I think that, look, you touched on it earlier. I mean, what's going on is, as everybody knows, is a sea change in the way that we're making content, and the way that content is distributed, and the way people are viewing it, and the way that it's financed. And that's kind of also what Thandie was saying about cross-fertilization between film and television. So that just doesn't take place from a creative point of view. That also takes place from a financial point of view. So what you're looking at now are different financial models for the creating of shows on American cable and American satellite. And essentially, those models are the old independent movie model, where you are anchoring the basic fund against a domestic distribution. And you're looking to a studio like eOne to come in and commit a deficit against foreign sales. Now, that simple financial paradigm has been used for years in the film business. And as the independent film business, as we know, has completely almost died over the last 10 to 15 years, the corresponding rise in American television in terms of high-quality drama the paradox is that one has died and one has increased. So what's happened is two things. One is the financiers have moved into looking at the way they can fund drama in a different way. And secondly, the talent has also migrated across from film, as Thandie was saying, and into the world of cable and satellite. And so you have this enormous renaissance, essentially, in North America, led, I suspect, by, sort of 10, 15 years ago, by the HBOs and the incredible shows. But this renaissance has essentially allowed and proved to everybody concerned that there is a sophisticated adult audience out there who will pay for and will pay for bespoke content. And that is the antithesis of everything we've been told about television over the last 25 years. That somehow that television only can work for a mass market. But it's nonsense. Television is absolutely now in a much more bespoke field than it's ever been before.
And how similar are the financing models to the ones that you would know from the film world? Are they really, is it kind of transposing one to the
Yeah, I think the exact model is pretty similar. And in this case, you have a company as ambitious and as progressive as Direct, who are in the market for making material which is standalone and out there. And so you essentially take that model which I described, which is, look, there's your license fee, there's an equity position, and then I will get the rest of that from a studio or from a sales company who will then sell off foreign against it. And we will all own part of that pie. And so what that means is the creative people are part owners in the show, the networks are part licensees in the show, just not licensees, they're also owners in the show. And this is a sea change. And as this happens, and as you see the way drama gets fractured and broken up, look, there'll always be a massive market for your mainstream middle network television. But on one end, you've got incredibly sophisticated cable TV. On the other end, you've got digital television and digital outlet where people get content over 10 minutes. So the spectrum for now, how we finance, how we view, and what we do is wide open. And we're at a golden age in that right now. And we're at the beginning of that.
And Patty, perhaps you can help us understand why DIRECTV gets involved, because I know in terms of original content, you've done some really interesting things in terms of taking series that were network series or were cable series and giving them another life, which I think has been successful. There was Damages and Friday Night Lights. Right. Now this is a new move, so why not just carry on with Pan Am? Sorry, just to use an example.
We're part of the Renaissance. Love it. As Nick was saying, and specifically for DIRECTV customers, we have over 20 million customers, which equates to about 55 million viewers in the United States and 15 million households in Latin America. And our customers, we have a great deal of knowledge on who they are, where they live, what they like to watch. And they are absolutely very sophisticated. We started dabbling in the original content business about 6 or 7 years ago. Friday Night Lights was the first one that kind of came our way. We were able to strike a very creative deal with NBC at the time, who worked phenomenally for us. And that's when we really knew that we needed to be committed to that business. 3 years later with Friday Night Lights and really and so much success with that series, Damages, we had the same opportunity to, I hate to say this, save the show. But again, it was the right show for us. Glenn Close, amazing. KZK, the production company behind it, super creative. And we are very creative friendly. We like to let the creatives do what they do best, and we really like to stay out of their way. But we knew that we didn't want to be the network that saves shows, that to continue our commitment to our customers, again, having the research and knowing what they like to watch. Rogue came my way, and I read it twice and was entirely engrossed by the characters and the complexities within the story, and knew that it would be the perfect one for us to really dive into original content.
I guess it's an interesting challenge in a way that you didn't have with the previous shows, in that you're telling people about this from the ground up. And in terms of the marketing challenge with Damages and Friday Night Lights, there was kind of that brand equity. It's a pretentious way of saying people knew about it. So in terms of marketing, as you say, you know where people live. How did you go about letting people know that this was coming?
We started. We started actually back in September. Is when we first started kicking off our promotion, and continued to tease. And we were on set, doing behind-the-scenes interviews and putting together half-hour programs that we rolled out. I mean, a whole slew of certainly on-air, as well as also we put together a much more a broader social media campaign as well. And while we do know where our customers live, and we build them, they turn on the program guide, and we have guide banners that say Rogue. You'd have to live under a rock to not know that this series is there. But we also wanted to go above and beyond and outside of our platform and really create more of a buzz. So we did a pretty elaborate publicity campaign around it, 12 cities with some of our cast members, and Thandie's been flying all over the States for the last couple of weeks, talking to everybody. It's really been tremendous and very well received.
And Patty, what's the measure of success? Because this isn't, I'm guessing, about a certain number of eyeballs necessarily. It's a slightly broader play for you.
So it's twofold. I mean, we certainly will look at viewership. And we have a couple of different ways that we measure that. And then also brand, that halo effect that we get from having a great series that we believe in, I believe, the series that we've picked up historically have all had, whether or not they were original productions like Friday Night Lights or Damages, or acquired series like The Slap, or Rake, they all have some kind of critical acclaim. The Wire is another one that we had post HBO, and we definitely put Rogue in that category.
It's interesting you mentioned HBO, because you're a pay TV platform that carries a lot of channels that are at the very high end in terms of cable. I won't say cable drama, even you're a satellite platform. But how do you balance the fact that these are channels on your platform? I mean, are you not taking eyeballs away from Game of Thrones or whatever is on the same evening?
Very good question. So we are very aware, very conscious of not wanting to compete with the networks that we carry, especially those the premium networks that we charge a fee for. So we want to give our customers just enough to ensure that they're satisfied and that they're not going to churn out and go to cable, or not even just cable these days. I mean, there's so many other options. We do vie for eyeballs. So we give them enough to ensure that they're not going to switch, but not too much to where they're going to cancel their HBO or Showtime or Star subscriptions.
Got it. Peter, I think eOne has really kind of been in the vanguard in terms of co-production. Everyone is talking about it in this market and has been for a couple of years, but I know you guys have been doing it for a while. But co-production can mean many things. Now, if I understand this right, this is structured as UK. Right. It's not CAN-CON, is it? And that's an important distinction.
It really is. Thank you. We did a co-production. I really want to be clear about this. for creative reasons. We did not do a co-production for financial reasons. There's a lot of co-production out there where they mishmash together financing, and the talent and the creative follows that financing. If you put in a lot of money, you get a lot of input. And what we were very careful about with Rogue was to have a singular vision. This is Matthew's show, executed by the people here, including the eOne people, John Moranis and Michael Rosenberg, and Patty, of course. There was a very as you said, there was the intent to give Matthew, and the creatives the ability to execute, and there was no interference. There was no other broadcaster, from Europe involved. We set up a UK co-production so we could access the great talent from Europe. So you've got, 4 directors, I believe, were European on Rogue.
I mean, you basically have creative, as you're saying, that you do it from a creative point of view. So the creative composition of the people involved is both European, Canadian, and American, and it's not done, as Peter was saying, from a financial point of view. So
right. So we don't have. I think you refer to it as Euro pudding. This is singular vision, creating great television. So it's really important distinction.
And then I wonder, Peter, the international market, back to front. Do you provide kind of notes from that perspective to say what's going to make this, an international project as well as one that's going to be successful in the US?
Our concern is that we make great television, and that's what's going to sell. And if you look at the marquee shows that eOne, oh my God, I've never seen my head that big before. That's really scary.
Certainly not in the morning.
It's about making great. Sorry, I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. It's very distracting. It's about making great television, and of course, there was conversations that were had with Matthew, and there was things that, but there wasn't copious notes from the international side. No, we just wanted Matthew to execute.
And MIP is largely a market, or is in part a market about buying and selling content. Now, I wonder what's the market like for this kind of high-end, serialized, quite demanding in a good way, drama at the moment?
There's a huge appetite for this type of programming, and this is, the eOne TV group was only formed 4.5 years ago, and this is the type of programming that's brought us to the position that we're in now in the marketplace. It's about those marquee shows, Hell on Wheels, Walking Dead, that have brought us to this place where we can.
Does it play better in certain places? And I was also curious. This is not on cable, it's on pay TV in the States, where obviously there's license to kind of push the envelope in terms of, language and subject matter. Does that mean internationally that it's likely to play on cable rather than free to air?
Even those lines are blurring, and it depends which country you're in, whether it's free TV or pay TV. The definition of pay TV is distinct in those different countries. If you ask a German what they mean by pay TV, it doesn't mean the same. So, to draw conclusions or to generalize to an audience as diverse as this, it'd be nonsense. So, this show will be prime time in every country. I don't know what the latest count is. 196 or something.
Matthew, coming back to you. This is a pay TV show, so you can push the envelope in a way that you might not be able to on mainstream broadcast. Did you feel did you take advantage of that? How violent? How
Well, my mum won't watch the show, put it that way. But then she's 76, so she's probably not the target market, I would say. No, it's not something you're conscious of, I don't think. I think you just try and tell the story you want to tell in the most compelling way that you can tell it. And I think, talking about the blurring lines between cinema and TV, I think, what I call American cable, which, whether it's now satellite or there's a model there. Thematically, there's often a model there in terms of the things you can explore. I mean, for me, it was the chance to explore certain ideas and themes over 10 hours. And I would, my hope is that I don't think, in terms of violence or sex, my hope is it's never gratuitous, that it always comes from a place that's justified by the story and the character. But of course, as a writer, it's an amazing liberation to be able to explore things and not have someone over the shoulder saying, well, you can have 2.5 fucks, or you can have, I don't know if I can say that in the morning, but you can have,
How do you have a half?
Do you have a half fuck? It's a fuck. It's a fuck. And then you cut out the scene, or it's the other end of it. But so it's quite amazing to be able to just, it's a very liberating feeling, and I think, my feeling is always that's how you get people to the best work, whether a DP or an editor or an actor. If the more you can set them free within the parameters of the vision, the more they're able to do their best work.
And creatively, I interview lots of people, and the one thing that seems to be a bugbear of creative people, of writers, is getting a huge number of notes and having their vision kind of diluted. Now, with a co-production, there are more partners on board. So in this case, were you getting a ton of notes, day by day, or did you have some freedom to go and make the show that you wanted to?
No, I felt very supported, and I think, you get notes, and it's you're an idiot if you don't listen. You have to, I feel a great sense of responsibility to these guys. It's their money. I want the show to be successful on a creative level, and I want it to be successful on a financial level. So I think, I always feel like you listen to ideas. I don't care if they come from the person who makes the coffee in the morning. If someone's got a good idea, it's a good idea, and I think it's part of your job to be open to hearing those ideas, and then ultimately it's your decision and your responsibility to decide which of those ideas are ones you want to adapt, or ones you want to use. But there is an issue. There is sometimes an issue of, like, if you get so many, or if you get, it can be conflicting. And I think you always the challenge is to listen to people, but stay true to what it is you want to do.
And you mentioned at the top that there's a whodunit element here, and that it gets resolved. So there's a kind of satisfactory ending over the course of the show. Now, does that mean that there is, God willing, that there's potential for a season 2 or 3, or I just wonder if you left that open.
We do round off the whodunit story, and it is a very personal story to Grace, to Thandie's character, in terms of who killed her son. Now, you can't kill a relative every season, because she's only got a daughter and a husband left. And so by season 4, you're killing the dog. By season 5, you're killing the mother-in-law, which may be no bad thing. But so the challenge, we've been talking about season 2 already, and I've sort of talked to the network and the studio about what I want to do in season 2. And I think the challenge is, for me, there's a Rogue brand, which is it's a smart character-led thriller with a very strong emotional heart. And I think you take that brand forward. Thandie's character is always central to that, but it's finding a way to refresh the show and renew the show so that every season you tell a standalone movie over 10 hours, a standalone thriller over 10 hours that has that emotional heart to it.
And Patty, I wouldn't dream of putting you on the spot, especially after I think that back-to-back episodes have gone out. But what's the process in terms of when you make a decision as to whether there will be a season 2? Timing-wise?
Right, and post-pitch, we were really pleased with the direction that Matthew has suggested we take subsequent seasons. Very excited by it. Sooner rather than later, for sure.
And Thandie, you're committed, should that happen, to doing more of the show?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's something which is standard with contracts in television anyway for lead actors, which actually it's a great thing, because it means that your level of commitment is that much more, obviously it's confirmed, and you have to really believe that you want to carry this character through, and that's present in every single day that you're shooting. That commitment, that integrity. So yeah, when you sign up for a show, you really believe in it utterly.
And has the experience, is it kind of, is it whet your appetite to do more television, of course, should the right project come your way?
It's impossible to say. I'm always led by the material, the themes, and the character. It really is. It's about that, and it's been a very interesting thing actually. One of the biggest differences is the fact that we don't have the same director carrying the whole series through. You know, we had 10 different episodes. One of our directors, Larissa Kondraki, did return 3 times. But basically, and I was a little wary of that to begin with, because I'm only used to working with one director and that person carrying the vision through. But actually, it was incredibly liberating knowing that really the heart, the core of the project was really down to, you know, us as creatives. And it gave me much more, I felt much more responsible, I felt much more empowered. And I think ultimately that makes the piece stronger.
Do you have any input as to, you know, what your character might do or say in given situations?
Yeah, season 2, she wants to go to Thailand to go to a monastery and become a Buddhist, so no one dies.
Yeah, you're writing that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but it's interesting because as the season progresses, because you're writers present, I'm sure there were times when, you know, you'd tweak future episodes according to what was happening as we were shooting. So there's a very organic sort of process to it. And I think that based on what we did in season 1, I'm sure that will inspire Matthew to go in certain directions. So it's not so much that I say, can we please, you know, can I have 5 kids in episode, you know, whatever, season 2. It's that I know, I absolutely trust that Matthew is watching for the strong elements, say in my performance or where the character's going, and will incorporate that into, you know, Nick, he could really torture me, let's face it. He could, you know, decide to put me in situations which I didn't like in the first season, but, you know, that's not
Keep him on side. Nick, you've spoken about the difference between cable, or rather, let's say pay TV, and kind of network television. Could this project ever have got away on mainstream TV, do you think, or is this really about the growth of cable and pay TV?
In its current form, it wouldn't work on network television, because network television pretty much demands, as we all know, a story of the week, and that wasn't something that Matthew was interested in doing, or that the show could accommodate. I think what's going to happen essentially is that as what's happening now, as network television sort of slightly withers on the vine with its storytelling potentials and its insistence on a very archaic model of making its shows, which is pilots and which is demanding hundreds and hundreds of episodes out of things that simply don't warrant that kind of level of storytelling, that they're going to borrow much more from the world of cable, and they're going to borrow stories and borrow talent from the independent sector in North America. And so as there's been a blurring of the lines in film and cable, there's now going to be, over the next 5 or 6 years probably, a blurring of the lines between network and cable. So creators like Matthew, for example, would be much more invited in to a world of network television, or myself, than we would have been before, where it's not necessarily a home for us, because people migrate towards success.
And Patty, I wonder, you spoke, it was really interesting that you speak about kind of balancing the original content against, you know, having the other networks and so forth. What does that mean in terms of the volume of originals? Does that mean, you know, for example, there'll be 1 new show from you guys a year, kind of, you know, a big tent pole, 2 more? Can we pin it down?
So for the last couple of years, we've had really 1 tentpole a year. This year we're ramping up, and there's another one that we'll have in the fall that we're very excited about. And ideally we would add 1 a year, probably ramping up to about 4, 1 a quarter.
Got it. And Peter, coming back to you, in terms of international sales, is there anything we can say about where Rogue will be playing around the world yet, or am I jumping the gun a bit?
You are, Stewart. I'll talk to you later about that.
Always looking for a story.
There will be announcements, you know, 3-4 weeks after the market, but as you know, you don't come here and sell territories anymore. You have conversations, you will get many offers here, but it's about finding the right partners for the right show. It's you know, horses for courses, really. And you've got to. We're going to have a long life with this show, and we want to make sure it's on the right platform. And it's not just first with a second with her. What are you going to do with the digital? Are you going to do multi-territory deals? Who's going to make the best use of the product? Who's going to promote it the best? It's a very complex matrix of how you roll a show out like this. So it's another advantage to working with a studio where we can deficit finance the show without having, you know, multiple partners, allow these guys to do their job, and then still, even from the sales side, have a clean slate when you roll it out in the world. So it's really exciting, actually.
When your sales team's out there, you know, doing what it does, how much does it help having some star power? Is that real? Does that give them leverage in terms of helping? Of course, the writing has to be fantastic as well, but does that?
Have we negotiated Thandie's deal for the second season? I don't know.
If we go to Thailand, yeah.
It's so important, Stewart.
In perpetuity.
This would be a different show without Thandie. I mean, it's so important.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much out of time. I don't know if we've got time for a quick question from the audience. Okay, one at the front row, I think.
Hello, this is Angela Natividad with the MIP blog. I just wanted to know, you were talking about how cable sort of, particularly HBO, sort of led this storytelling revolution that TV is now following in general. One of the things that they did do was sort of make it possible to create all these digital universes that expanded the universe of television. Is there anything specifically you plan to be doing in digital for Rogue?
I'll take that. Yes, actually, we produced a series of what we're calling mini-sodes. There are 10 5-minute episodes that actually answers, I don't know that it necessarily answers questions, but there's a point in the first episode, a jump in time of 4 months, and the investigation into Grace's son's case. And so we broke that down, and what we're doing with those elements, we're actually using them in social for a second screen experience, as well as also on our linear broadcast. So far, so good.
Social, like Facebook, Twitter, or did you create your own platform?
We're partnering with a company called sheknows.com that will, they'll have them on their platform for a bit. We will have them on our DIRECTV Facebook page as well. And we also included them in our sneak preview that we had on our DIRECTV Everywhere platform. So you would have the complete Rogue experience of our 2-hour premiere event, and you could also binge view all 10 episodes as well.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Good stuff, thank you. I mean, we've definitely overrun now, so we'll call it to a close. But if you join me in saying thank you, I mean, you know, great panel, and the show looks great. Thank you.